Hi everyone, welcome to the Movieception Show. My name is Fariba, and today I want to take a few moments to give my review of the new Pixar movie Hoppers. And I wanted to do this review specifically because I actually grew up with watching a whole bunch of Pixar movies. It's kind of really defined my childhood. But that being the case, there's no denying, and I think we can all attest to the fact that the last few years, probably since COVID happened, right? Because I think that's where it really started to kind of hit them a lot. And that's the fact that Pixar movies haven't really been the same since. I think a lot of us started to notice quite a shift in how they were executing their movies. Now, I think for all of us, we can all say that one of the greatest elements of what makes a Pixar movie so great is the fact that, even though it is animated and that, it is done in animated style and that's supposed to be family friendly type of film, it doesn't take away the fact that they're always relatable. There's always some kind of underlying message that they're trying to present. And in a sense, a lot of the films that we actually see from Pixar are almost kind of like an allegory of something, right? I mean, Coco is a very good example of talking about death. What else? Right now, I'm like, oh, Inside Out. I mean, that's just about the whole idea of, memories and childhood and embracing the fact that you just have to accept change, all that sort of stuff. I mean, that's just a couple few examples that we had. But since 2020, I would say that I haven't really had the same feelings or some of the more deep emotions that I usually would feel whenever I do watch a Pixar movie. Now, I say this because I would say from my experience watching Pixar movies, there are definitely a few that I would admit have really kind of hit me so hard that I am completely sobbing. I mean, I think some good examples are like Toy Story 3, Coco, Inside Out, the first Inside Out movie. I mean, those are just examples of films that I will remember, that I test to, that, I personally just could not contain my emotions just because of how deep the stories are. I mean, even with Up, right? I mean, the first 10 minutes of Up, like, that will help you, that will have you start tearing up the moment that we get to, the couple and seeing just how, the challenges that they had to go through and just the ending of it. And yeah, that again, Pixar is just, for a studio that is trying to be family friendly and that's supposed to be catering towards kids, they definitely take a lot of the content and make sure that it also fits with, adult audiences, and they understand the underlying messages and how deep the story is in a meaningful way. But as I said, we've missed a lot of that in recent movies with Pixar. I mean, I think Elemental was okay. For instance, I know there was a whole. I understand that was a whole idea of, interracial marriage. Then there was Elio, which I thought was really okay. But I would say that I haven't had that degree of quality from a Pixar movie in a while that made me really kind of have these really deep emotions. Not until recently, of course. Now, Hoppers. I mean, I think when we got the first look of Hoppers, I think right off the bat, I was actually intrigued by the whole plot, the premise. One thing being the fact that it is focused on a character who, of course, goes into this robotic beaver, and her goal is to go and then try to save a forest. And I think the more you watch that film, the more you kind of realize that this is a film that is really about trying to kind of, in a way, I don't know if you can say animal cruelty, but I think mostly kind of the environmentalist sort of approach, global warming, all that sort of stuff. And I think right off the bat, like, I knew that this is going to be a film for me, just because for those who don't know, I'm a huge animal lover. I actually adopted a cat recently, something that I've kind of been sharing in the news recently. And I think nowadays, it's like, even when it comes to like animal stories, that I think that hits me a little bit more deeply now than ever before. And not only that, but of course, I love how there's like the little nod to Avatar. And I don't even like Avatar that much, but that's me digressing. But that being the case, I have seen Hoppers, and I will say, I think it's been such a long time since I've actually had any kind of experience that I had with Pixar movies pre-COVID. And that's a good thing to say. I mean, this is a film that I generally did not know how fun it was going to be, let alone how dark some of the humor was going to be. Like, I was just going to the theater, just kinda, like, expecting at least some very decent film. I was hearing a lot of great reviews about it, but I was hoping to be at least half decent, something that, when it comes to its message, that it would hit me really personally. And one of the things I did not expect is how much I was gonna laugh throughout the film. I know there's moments where people are just, like, forcefully laughing, but this is one of those cases where I was actually genuinely laughing at some of the jokes that were happening in the movie. But not only that, but I would say this is probably one of the more riskiest films that really go a little bit dark. Like, I think a lot of the content is quite mature, maybe even for, like, even more so in the standard of, like, what we see with Pixar movies. I think there's something that's kind of been going around. I think if you've been hearing about that, that's what I'm talking about. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I literally did gasp watching that scene. So this is definitely a film that I would say I had quite a roller coaster ride. And not only that, but I think when you do understand who this character is and and the other animal characters that you're dealing with, you really start to understand how much, you're starting to kind of like connect with these characters, especially the ones who are animals. I think that's, as I said, I'm a huge animal person. I think the moment that we are getting connected to these animals and realizing the challenges that they had to deal with because of human consumption um and human greed in a way. um this is a film that I was just kind of like, okay, I wonder how they're going to end things up. Like, that was probably my biggest thing, how my biggest curiosity of how they're going to end this off, because it is quite a deep topic to go to. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that even Pixar went this route, but I was very curious regardless, just to see how things would end off. And I would say that what really makes a movie work is the fact that, there's still that deep personal relatable reason as to why, Mabel would do the way she wants to do things. I mean, there is an underlying reason why, she is campaigning to save the animals, to save the forest, to save what is left of nature, considering the fact that, humans have, taken a lot of their land. And it's just like, okay, um, I mean, but only that, but not only that, but I think what I like about this film is that right off the bat, you can see where her motivations are. And I think once you do establish those motivations, it helps with the rest of the film. And you really start to understand, like, wow, like, I kind of understand the frustration that she's feeling. I mean, not only that, but I think the more you start to sense what Mabel's going through, not with just the humans, but with the animals, it does make you feel frustrated. You kind of resonate with the emotions that Mabel's going through. I think that's what makes a Pixar movie so great, simply because of the fact that you can relate to some of the characters and what they're going through. And I'm not gonna lie, I think the more you get into this film and realizing what's going on and the challenges that Mabel has to go through, and not just Mabel, but even the other animals, there was even one point where I actually started tearing up because I was just like, because a lot of times, like, I just don't know. Like, sometimes you can feel it, other times you don't. And I remember just kind of like tearing up. I'm just like, why am I crying? So this is definitely a film that if you're gonna go watch it, I mean, if you're not necessarily a big animal lover, I don't think you're gonna be too emotionally attached. But if you're someone like me who loves animals and understands like what's going on in the world, and especially with the whole environmental issues, then this is a film that you would really deeply, resonate with. Now, that is not to say that this is maybe the best Pixar film. I would say that, I mean, I think for me, some of the more top tier Pixar movies are gonna be like Toy Story 3, Coco, Finding Nemo. Those are the films that I would say are like top tier Pixar movies. But that is not to say that this is a film that is truly, I guess you can say, truly a return to form for Pixar. I think that's what a lot of people have been saying. I would attest to that. That is what we're seeing with Hoppers here, because I think it's been a long time that we've gotten anything original content. I mean, yeah, we've had, IP related stuff like Inside Out 2, Toy Story 4, and those tend to be okay. But when it comes to original content, I think that's where we start to kind of lose the quality of what has been Pixar movies. But I will attest to the fact that Hoppers may actually be the comeback story for the studio in a long, long time. Like, I feel like this generally felt like the most Pixar movie that I've seen in a while. And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing, because I was like, okay, I really hope this movie does succeed, because it does look interesting, and it does hit in some of the best some of the best aspects of what, makes a great Pixar movie. And not only that, but to have that emotional reaction to certain bits of the film, especially because of how they set up the exposition for this film. I think that's what makes it worth it. Now, as I said, it's not the most flawless film. I think, as I said, there's far better Pixar movies out there, and I think that even with the exposition, I wish there could have been a little bit more of a deeper analysis and deeper character arc with Mabel and some of the other characters that we do see in this film. But nevertheless, I thoroughly enjoyed watching Hoppers. I was really kind of scared. I'm like, oh my god, will I actually like it? And thankfully, so I did enjoy Hoppers, and this I hope is probably gonna be a new era for Pixar and probably, a return to form in a way that we start to get those quality Pixar movies that we used to get when we were kids, right? Or at least for me when I was a kid. So, and not only that, but we had Toy Story 5 coming out, and I think that would be a great follow up, considering the fact that even Toy Story 5, I'm actually pretty interested in, and there's actually something worthwhile to watch. So, but yeah, that's what I have to say about Hoppers. I thoroughly enjoyed it. For someone who's been feeling a little bit disappointed with some of the last few Pixar movies that we've gotten. That isn't, okay, of course, IP related, but for those who have seen Hoppers, I want to know your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think this is truly a comeback story for Pixar? Do you think that this is the most Pixar film that we've had in the last 6 years? I mean, I feel like, again, as I said, Pixar hasn't been the same in quite a long time, especially when it comes to original content. Or do you have other thoughts? Do you think that maybe it's not quite there? Is it too soon to be making that call? And are you looking forward to seeing their future films? I know they have Gotcha coming out next year. They have Toy Story 5 coming out this year. I think there's a couple announcements that just happened with Coco 2, Credibles, and Monsters Inc. 3. But yeah, let me know your thoughts below and make sure to like and subscribe.